Stop dawdling, fill in your name and hand it in already, Yu Qinxian urged impatiently, glancing repeatedly at his watch. Jing Shui stared at the marriage application, her fingertips lightly tracing the paper as if feeling the threads of fate. In her past life, she had solemnly written her name, then eagerly dragged Yu Qinxian off to buy wedding sweets, dreaming of their sweet future married life. In the end, just because Yu Qinxian was in a hurry to go home and make brown sugar water for Jing Shuhui, who was on her period, Jing Shui was subjected to a torrent of abuse from the man. Got it, got it, Jing Shui gave a perfunctory reply, but her mind was in turmoil. She had actually been reborn. Jing Shui glanced up, taking in Yu Qinxuan's agitated expression and the hand that kept darting to check his watch. He was wearing a white shirt today, the sleeves rolled up to his elbows, revealing the well-defined muscles of his forearms. She remembered that Jing Shuhui loved it most when he dressed like this, saying he looked clean-cut and fresh. If you're busy, you should go ahead and take care of it. Suppressing the bitterness welling up inside her, Jing Shui forced a casual tone. I'll fill it out and hand it in myself. He visibly relaxed, his voice softening a little. Don't worry, since we're getting married, I'll take responsibility for you. After a brief pause, he added, but you must stop being jealous of Hui Hui from now on. If word gets out, it will damage her reputation. Jing Shui remained silent. In her past life, she had explained it countless times, yet, in Yu Qinxuan's eyes, she was just a jealous and petty older sister who couldn't tolerate her own gentle and kind-hearted younger sister. Yu Qinxian said nothing more and turned to leave in a hurry. His retreating figure was resolute, without a trace of reluctance. Jing Shui took a deep breath, trying to calm her frantic heartbeat. Yet the memories of her past life kept replaying in her mind. On their wedding night, Yu Qinxian had refused to consummate the marriage, using the excuse of needing to care for his sick sister. He even took only Jing Shuhui on trips, using the excuse that she had never been to Beijing. He didn't even have time to come when his son was born, too busy comforting the recently divorced Jing Shuhui. Then, on her deathbed, her son was still pleading in her ear. Mom, just divorced Dad. You're no match for Auntie in any way. Dad has endured so much all these years to be with you. Even on your deathbed, you won't let them go. Jing Shui lay in the hospital bed, looking at her cold, indifferent husband beside her. He said nothing. This deathly silence was his tacit approval of their son's sentiment. In that moment, Jing Shui's heart broke completely. She bit down hard on her lower lip, only releasing it when she tasted the metallic tang of blood. No, not in this life. She wouldn't repeat the same mistakes. She refused to marry Yu Qinxian. As she stared at the household registration document in her hand, a bold idea took shape in her mind. Jing Shui picked up the pen and, in the applicant section, slowly wrote 2 characters. Jing Shuhui, Yu Qinxian, since you love her so much, have it your way. Jing Shui handed the completed application form to the clerk, took the marriage certificate, and turned to leave the Civil Affairs Bureau. Stepping out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, the sunlight fell on her face, warm and gentle. Jing Shui felt no sadness. Instead, there was an indescribable sense of relief. Jing Shui and Jing Shuhui are biological sisters. After their parents died in the line of duty, both were adopted by the Lu family, because the younger sister, Jing Shuhui, was sweet-tongued and knew how to get things done. She charmed the elderly Lu couple into treating her even better than their own daughter. Mrs. Lu had long harbored the idea of marrying Jing Shuhui off to Yu Qinxian, yet, with a single remark of I don't want to compete with my sister, she made Yu Qinxian willingly marry Jing Shui instead. In truth, Jing Shuhui was just stringing Yu Qinxian along. After all, back then, Yu Qinxian was just a pilot. Jing Shuhui was holding out for someone better. Jing Shui went to the school to clarify all the necessary preparations for university, including living expenses and other costs. Before heading back with her mind at ease, she had no intention of repeating her past life's mistake of abandoning her studies for so-called love. Back at the family quarters assigned to Yu Qinxian, the moment he stepped inside, he heard Shu Hui's coquettish complaint, Brother Xian, you rushed back to be with me instead of staying with sister. Won't she be upset? I can spend time with her anytime, but you always get cramps during your period, and I don't feel right leaving you home alone. Jing Shui gave a self-deprecating smile. She suffered from period cramps too, but in her past life, Yu Qinxian never showed her any concern, only ever blaming her. Stop being so dramatic. Every woman goes through this. You're just being a baby. Jing Shuhui's playful laughter drifted from inside the room, followed by a deliberately forlorn tone as she said, Brother Xian, will you still be good to me after you marry my sister? Of course, Yu Qinxian said with conviction. If I'm not good to you, then who should I be good to? If your sister isn't good to you, I'll divorce her. Jing Shui clenched her fists tightly, just to hold back the overwhelming heartache. So, even in this new life, hearing her husband treat her with such cold indifference still made her sad. Jing Shui composed herself and walked into the room as if nothing was wrong. Upon hearing the door close, Jing Shui immediately feigned concern. "Oh, you're back, sis." Yu Qinxian emerged from Xu Hui's room, a hint of awkwardness on his face. "Shui, I just went in to check on Hui Hui because she wasn't feeling well." Jing Shui gave a faint ahm and turned to head back to her room. In her past life, she had argued and fought with him countless times over the overly ambiguous relationship between Yu Qinxian and Xu Hui. Every time, Yu Qinxian would brush her off with a dismissive, "You're just being petty and can't stand your sister." In this life, she didn't want to waste any more time or energy on such pointless arguments. Yu Qinxian suddenly called out to stop her. "Shui, how about we buy some wedding candies to give to the wives at the base?" Jing Shui gave him a surprised look, then understood. This was probably his way of compensating her for not making a fuss. A slap followed by a sweet date. It was his usual trick. Her tone was cold and dismissive. "No need. There's no point in such formalities." Yu Qinxian was taken aback. He was somewhat shocked that Jing Shui, who had always seemed eager to shout from the rooftops about marrying him, would actually refuse the suggestion. "Sis, are you upset because Brother Xian has been looking after me?" Jing Shui emerged from the room, her face a picture of grievance and innocence, and what she was wearing was precisely the linen suit that Jing Shui had specifically bought for their wedding photos. It was something Jing Shui had scrimped and saved for half a lifetime to afford in her past life, yet she had never once brought herself to wear it. Catching Jing Shui's gaze, Xu Hui began to explain in a fluster. "I saw this outfit by my sister's bed and thought it looked nice. So I wanted to try it on. I forgot to take it off." She hung her head, twisting her fingers, looking like a child who'd been caught doing something wrong. Yu Qinxian instinctively started to say, "Shui, don't you?" Jing Shui cut him off, her tone calm. "It looks good on you. You can keep it. I've never worn it anyway." No wonder, in her past life, when she ran home crying in the middle of the night, she could smell a faint trace of blood and sweat on that brand new linen suit. Thinking about it now, Jing Shui was instantly overcome with a wave of disgust. Under the astonished gazes of the two, Jing Shui returned to her room and locked the door behind her. Inside the room, Jing Shui pulled out the document folder. Inside was her acceptance letter. From Shinshu University. In her past life, Jing Shui had always loved the South. Shinshu University's most renowned foreign language program happened to be the one she was most interested in that previous life. For Yu Qinshuan's sake, Jing Shui gave up her studies and willingly stayed home to serve her in-laws. It's not too late in this lifetime. Jing Shui is determined to live for herself now. Jing Shui pulled out the calendar. In 10 days, she could finally leave this place. She circled the day of her departure with a red pen, the 21st of this month. Time was running out, but Jing Shui had to make every second count to get ready. A sudden knock came at the door, and Jing Shui opened it with impatience. Yu Qinxian was standing outside, holding a thermos of hot water. "Here, clean yourself up. You like to be tidy, don't you?" He handed over the thermos, his tone carrying a hint of barely perceptible ingratiation. Jing Shui froze. There was no hot water at the base, but because she was particular about cleanliness, she often had to fetch water from the distant canteen. Yet Yu Qinxian never thought to bring any back for her. Even when she was too ill to get out of bed, or when her pregnancy made movement difficult, he would just tell her impatiently to tough it out. His sudden attentiveness today took her by surprise. She took the thermos and murmured a quiet "thank you." "By all rights, tonight should be our wedding night." Yu Qinxian rubbed his hands together, seemingly at a loss for words. "But Hui Hui isn't feeling well. I need to stay with her. You should get some rest." "So that's how it is." She had completely forgotten. It was the same in her past life. When she returned home, she found Yu Qinxian in Jing Shuhui's room, taking care of her. She questioned and argued, only to be locked out by Yu Qinxian in the end. Jing Shui cried all night in the bitter wind, eventually becoming the laughingstock of the entire base. "Fine, you take good care of her." Seemingly stung by her indifference, Yu Qinxian said with a hint of guilt, "I'm being transferred to the capital next week. We can consummate our marriage then. I only see Hui Hui as a little sister." "It's fine, she's like a sister to me too. You take good care of her." Jing Shui shrugged indifferently and made a move to close the door. Yu Qinxian suddenly reached out to block the door. "Aren't you really jealous at all?" He couldn't understand why, but ever since they returned from the Civil Affairs Bureau, Jing Shui seemed like a completely different person. Jing Shui shot him a look, signaling him to move aside. her tone laced with a hint of sarcasm. Why would I be jealous, unless you have other ideas? Yu Qianxian fell silent, looking at her with a complicated expression. Jing Shui ignored him and shut the door without another word. Unscrewing the thermos lid, she was met with a faint scent of vanishing cream mixed with sweat. A few fine, curly hairs floated on the water's surface. She turned her face away in disgust. This wasn't hot water, it was clearly water Jing Shui had already used. A surge of inexplicable rage shot from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. Jing Shui snatched up the thermos and charged into Jing Shuhui's room. Inside the room, Jing Shuhui was nestled in Yu Qianxuan's arms, the two of them whispering intimately. Splash, a torrent of hot water, reeking of vanishing cream and sweat, cascaded over their heads, drenching them to the bone with a shocking chill. Jing Shuhui let out a shriek. Yu Qianxian leapt to his feet and roared, Jing Shui! What are you doing? Jing Shuhui began to fake cry, but upon catching a whiff of the strange odor, she couldn't help but retch. Yu Qianxian patted her back soothingly, his heart aching for her, and glared at Jing Shui. Have you lost your mind? And to think Hui Hui felt sorry for you, telling me to bring this hot water to clean you up. Jing Shui sneered. I wouldn't dare use that water, who knows what filth it's been in contact with. That's a load of nonsense. Yu Qianxian flew into a rage. How could the hot water I fetched possibly be dirty? I thought you were finally starting to see reason, but you're still being so unreasonable. Jing Shui took a step forward and, fighting back his disgust, pointed the spout of the pot towards Yu Qianxian. Yu Qianxian, take a whiff yourself. What is this smell? Enraged and humiliated, Yu Qianxian shoved Jing Shui away. Blinded by rage, he put all his strength into it. The glass thermos smashed against the floor, shattering and sending shards flying everywhere. Jing Shui was shoved to the ground, a shard of glass piercing the palm of her right hand. Blood instantly welled up. You've gone too far. You're suspicious of everything, all the time. You don't deserve anyone's kindness. Yu Qianxian pointed at her and shouted in fury, showing no concern whatsoever for the injury on her hand. Blood dripped from Jing Shui's fingers, spreading in a dark stain across the floor. She didn't cry out, nor did she utter a single word of pain. He simply stood up and stared at Yu Qianxian in silence, his eyes filled with scorn and indifference. Only then did Yu Qianxian notice the injury on Jing Shui's hand, but he merely furrowed his brow and made no move to check on it. Serves you right, you brought this on yourself with your tantrum. He averted his gaze in disgust. Look at yourself, you're acting like a complete shrew. Jing Shui laughed, her shoulders shaking with mirth. Jing Shui had heard that line one too many times. She was utterly sick of it. In her past life, she had debased herself for this man, groveling in the dust, pleading pathetically for his affection. She had cooked for him, borne his children, and managed his household. He took all her sacrifices for granted, and trampled all her love underfoot. He was clearly using her, leeching off her lifeblood while looking down on her. Some people's hearts can never be warmed. Yu Qianxian. Jing Shui rose slowly to her feet, her gaze sharp as a blade. You disgust me. She turned and walked away without a backward glance. Yu Qianxian watched her retreating figure, a sudden, inexplicable irritation welling up inside him. Stop right there, he roared. Explain yourself. Jing Shui watched as Yu Qianxuan's gaze remained fixed on Jing Shui's departing back, a pang of resentment twisting in her heart. Tears welled up in her eyes instantly, and she wept with a heart-wrenching beauty. It's all my fault, all my fault. Sister is arguing with you like this because she doesn't like me. I'm the one to blame. Yu Qianxuan's gaze was indeed drawn back, his heart aching for her. He held Jing Shui close, gently patting her back and soothing her in a soft voice. All right, it's not your fault. She's just being petty and overthinking things. Don't cry. Jing Shui stumbled out of the family quarters. The biting wind lashed at her face like a knife, but it was nothing compared to the chill in her heart. She wandered aimlessly, not even knowing where she was headed. Oh my goodness, Shui, what happened to your hand? Jing Shui looked up in a daze, meeting the horrified gaze of sister-in-law Wang, who was passing by and staring at her bloodied, mangled palm. Without another word, sister-in-law Wang grabbed her arm. Quick, to the clinic. This needs immediate attention. The pungent smell of antiseptic filled the air. As the doctor treated the wound, Jing Shui clenched her teeth, not uttering a sound. Only after the bandaging was done did a searing, heart-piercing pain wash over Jing Shui, her body breaking out in a cold sweat. Seeing her shivering, sister-in-law Wang quickly unwrapped her own scarf and draped it over her. You've been through a lot, haven't you, dear? Just think how heartbroken Captain you would be to see you like this. In the compound, everyone knew about Jing Shui and Yu Qianxuan's engagement, and it was taken for granted that their wedding was just around the corner. A pang of bitterness shot through Jing Shui's heart. She wanted to say he wouldn't care at all. The words died on her lips. I've already sent my little tiger to fetch Captain Yu. He'll be here any minute. A long time had passed. Jing Shui's hand had been bandaged, but there was still no sign of Yu Qinxian. Sister-in-law Wang's little tiger came running back, panting and out of breath, with no one following behind him. Mom, Captain Yu says he's not coming. Little tiger blurted out innocently. He said that little scratch was nothing. I saw him busy comforting Auntie, holding her and everything. Little tiger's words exploded like a bomb in the small clinic. Everyone present was stunned, their expressions a mixture of shock and disbelief. Everyone knew exactly who that auntie in his arms was, so the rumors about Captain Yu and his sister-in-law were true after all. A wave of indescribable humiliation washed over Jing Shui, her face burning with shame. She smoothed back the stray hairs from her forehead, hiding her reddened eyes, and asked the doctor, "Doctor, are there any beds available? Can I stay for the night?" The doctor paused, casting a sympathetic glance at Jing Shui's pale face. "Yes, I'll arrange one for you." Jing Shui curled up on the narrow hospital bed, a thin blanket covering her, yet she still felt cold. She hugged herself tightly, as if that was the only way to draw a sliver of warmth. In her past life, it was also at this clinic where she received an 4 drip due to severe morning sickness. Yet, Yu Qinxian was off accompanying Jing Shui, shopping in town. He didn't show up until her 4 was finished, arriving late and carrying snacks. Hiding her discomfort, she smiled and took the snack, asking him how he knew she was hungry. The man, however, frowned and pulled his hand away from hers. "Don't touch that, Hui wants this. I had to go to several shops to find it." How did she feel in that moment? Heartache, or was it humiliation? She couldn't quite remember anymore. All she remembered was forgiving him, time and again, only to be hurt by him just as many times. Jing Shui closed her eyes, letting the tears fall in silence. Given a second chance at life, she vowed never to shed another tear for this man. Yu Qinxian awoke at the first light of dawn. Jing Shui's failure to return all night left him deeply unsettled. Yet, Jing Shui's icy glare was like a thorn lodged in his heart, impossible to shake. As if guided by some unseen force, he found himself at the door to Jing Shui's room. After a moment's hesitation, he gently pushed it open. The room was unnervingly clean, with almost no personal belongings in sight. On the desk sat a calendar, with one date heavily circled in red ink. What was so special about the 21st? It wasn't the date for the trip. Did she have something planned for that day? Looking around, compared to the abundance of decorations in Jing Shui's room, this place felt excessively desolate. A wave of inexplicable guilt washed over Yu Qinxian. He had been engaged to Jing Shui for 2 years, yet he had scarcely shown her any genuine care. He always thought Jing Shui was too independent and headstrong, not gentle and considerate like Jing Shui, who seemed to need someone to protect her. Looking back now, he wondered if he had treated her too poorly. Just as he was lost in thought, the door creaked open. Jing Shui's face was as pale as a sheet. She shot him a cold glance. "What are you doing in my room?" Yu Qinxian instinctively furrowed his brow. She was always like this, her words laced with barbs. She didn't have half the gentleness of Jing Shui. No wonder he couldn't bring himself to like her. He pointed at the calendar and asked, "Are you busy on the 21st? Jing Shui's heart sank. "None of your business," she blurted out. His tone turned sharp. "Can't you just talk to me properly? We are married, after all." Ignoring his complaints, Jing Shui weakly steadied herself on the edge of the bed and sat down. Having walked back after losing too much blood, she felt dizzy and lightheaded. Everything before her eyes grew blurry. "What's wrong with you?" Yu Qinxuan's tone carried a hint of concern that was hard to detect. Jing Shui let out a cold laugh. "What's wrong? Don't you already know?" Yu Qinxian thought of her bleeding hand from last night and felt a surge of irritation. "It's just a little scratch, isn't it? Is it really that big of a deal?" Hui is timid. "If you hadn't scared her, I wouldn't have pushed you. Make sure you apologize to her later. What you did yesterday was really out of line." Jing Shui ignored his reproach, feeling utterly drained both physically and mentally. Waves of dizziness washed over her, and her stomach churned so violently she felt on the verge of vomiting. Seeing her in such a weakened state, Yu Qinxian felt the last shred of his guilt evaporate. He thought Jing Shui was just putting on a pitiful act to win his sympathy. "Cat got your tongue. Say something," he said impatiently. "Don't think I'll feel sorry for you just because you're faking sick." Jing Shui closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She didn't want to waste another word or an ounce of energy on this man. "Get out." Yu Qinxian was seething. He pointed a trembling finger at Jing Shui. "You're impossible." He turned on his heel in a fury and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. When I woke again, the sky outside the window was already tinged with the dusky hues of twilight. Jing Shui felt for a piece of fruit candy by the pillow. Unwrapping the candy, The sweet and sour flavor melted on the tongue. Finally settling the stomach a little, her gaze fell on the calendar on the desk, where she marked today's date with a red X. Another day, wasted. The plan was to buy some things for university, but her stomach growled with hunger, rubbing her aching belly. She pushed open the door. At the dining table, Yu Qianxian was attentively serving food to Jing Shuhui. A small bowl of chicken soup sat before Jing Shuhui, who was shyly stirring it slowly with a spoon. Seeing Jing Shui come out, Yu Qianxian greeted her in a stiff tone. "Now that you're here, you should eat." Faced with the two of them, she found it hard to swallow a single bite, but then it occurred to her, this rice was something she had painstakingly carried all the way from the countryside. Why on earth shouldn't she eat it? So, with an expressionless face, she sat down at the table and served herself a bowl of rice. Seeing this, Jing Shuhui feigned concern and spoke up, "Sis, this chicken soup is really delicious. Would you like some?" As she spoke, she made a move to push the chicken soup toward Jing Shui. "No need." Yu Qianxian gently stopped Jing Shuhui. "It's just one bowl. You're frail and need the nourishment." While saying this, he continued to serve dishes into Jing Shuhui's bowl. Having experienced the tribulations of her past life, Jing Shui had long grown numb to these two. She ate the plain rice in her bowl in silence, completely unmoved by their performance. Seeing that Jing Shui was willing to eat on her own, Yu Qianxian thought her anger had subsided and spoke up, "From your attitude today, it seems you have no intention of apologizing to Hui Hui, but you were in the wrong yesterday. This bowl of soup was a gift for you from Sister Wang. I took the liberty of giving it to Hui Hui as your apology." Smash! Jing Shui slammed the bowl down onto the table. The porcelain clattered against the tabletop with a sharp, grating sound, startling Jing Shuhui, who let out a gasp and hid in Yu Qianxuan's arms. Yu Qianxian held her close, his heart aching for her, and frowned as he looked at Jing Shui. "It's just a bowl of soup. What's all the fuss about?" Jing Shui's eyes were icy. "I'm full." She turned and left, leaving behind a messy table and two stunned faces. Past experience had taught her that arguing was pointless, whether it was a gift from someone or something she earned herself. Anything of value would inevitably end up in Jing Shuhui's hands. It was better to turn a blind eye than to waste one's breath. In the following days, Jing Shui was busy preparing for her trip to Shenzhen, buying train tickets, exchanging ration coupons, purchasing daily necessities. The red X's on the calendar were growing in number. When the fifth X was marked, Jing Shui was finally ready. A knock came abruptly at the door. Jing Shui opened the door impatiently, only to find Yu Qianxian standing there holding a bowl of noodles, his tone gentle. "I saw you retreat to your room as soon as you got back, so I made you some noodles." For a moment, Jing Shui was dazed. In her past life, Yu Qianxian had always been icy and harsh toward her. It had been a long time since she had seen such a tender, affectionate expression. Jing Shui replied coldly, "No need, I've already eaten out." Yu Qianxian clearly didn't believe her. How could that be? "You're usually so reluctant to spend money." His words stung Jing Shui. In the past, she was truly reluctant to spend money on herself, living frugally and pouring most of her earnings from odd jobs into him. Now, she was about to leave for university. There would be so many expenses ahead, and every penny would need to be carefully budgeted. Jing Shui looked up at him, her tone calm. "I remember giving you $50 a few days ago to buy wedding supplies. But it doesn't look like you bought anything. You'd better give it back." He froze for a moment, then offered an awkward explanation. "That money, I used it to buy a pair of little leather shoes for Shu Hui." Jing Shui couldn't help but purse her lips. How boring. This again. "Well, if there's nothing else, I'm going to lock up and go to bed. I'll give you the money tomorrow." Yu Qianxuan's voice carried a hint of irritation. "We're husband and wife. Do you really have to be so petty?" Jing Shui couldn't help but sneer. "So, using the money I worked hard to save to buy things for someone else, and I'm not even allowed to mind." Knowing he was in the wrong, he still muttered stubbornly, "She's your sister. You're being completely unreasonable. Oh, by the way, there's something I want to talk to you about." Jing Shui raised an eyebrow. So, this was the real purpose of his visit. "I plan to have Shu Hui accompany me to Beijing for a trip first." Jing Shui gave a slight, indifferent nod to acknowledge the statement. Yu Qianxian seemed somewhat unaccustomed to Jing Shui's aloof demeanor. She used to chirp around him nonstop, like a happy little sparrow. Now she's become tight-lipped, which makes him inexplicably uneasy. "What's been going on with you lately? It's like you're a different person." Jing Shui gave him a cool, detached glance that sent a chill down Yu Qianxuan's spine. He realized then that it was indeed a bit unfair to let Jing Shuhui go on the trip first, but with Shu Hui crying her heart out, clinging to his arm and pleading relentlessly, he simply couldn't bring himself to refuse. "It's not that I don't want you to go. He offered a rather wooden explanation. It's just that Xu Hui has never seen the capital and really wants to visit. I'll come get you in a few months. Jing Shui gave an absent-minded acknowledgement. In her past life, for a full 8 years, he never came to take her on that trip. It wasn't until Jing Shuhui married a second-generation military officer from the capital that he, utterly disheartened, finally brought her to Beijing. She had endured 8 years of being mocked as a barren hen, suffering in silence with no way to voice her pain. Seeing Jing Shui's indifferent reaction, Yu Qinxian grew even more restless and uneasy. He always had a feeling that Jing Shui was hiding something from him. Jing Shui sold off some worthless household items, those sentimental keepsakes from her past life. Looking back now, it was all just cheap junk. Jing Shui packed it all up and sold it to a scrap dealer for a pittance. That afternoon, as she continued sorting through her belongings, Yu Qinxian appeared before her, holding out 50 yuan. He said in a stiff tone, "This is yours." Jing Shui took the money and counted it. "Thanks." He looked at Jing Shui with a complicated expression, his gaze then falling on the luggage she had packed. "Didn't I say you don't need to travel anymore? What are you packing all this for?" Jing Shui didn't want to complicate things. Although Yu Qinxian didn't love Jing Shui, if he found out the marriage application was filled out with Jing Shuhui's name, he might just go through the whole process again with her, just for her sake. Jing Shui wanted nothing more to do with that despicable pair. "It's nothing, I just wanted to pack my things. Once you leave for the capital, I can finally move back to the countryside." Yu Qinxian let out a sigh of relief, trying to ease the tension. He remembered how Jing Shui had been pestering him to take wedding photos, so he suggested, "Haven't you always wanted wedding photos? How about we go to the studio tomorrow?" Just as Jing Shui was about to find an excuse to refuse, Jing Shuhui walked in and affectionately looped her arm through Yu Qinxuan's. "Brother Xian, what photo studio? Shuhui wants to take pictures too." Yu Qinxian smiled and patted Jing Shuhui's head. "Sure, we'll all go together tomorrow. You guys go ahead. I've got something on tomorrow." Yu Qinxian frowned. "What could be more important than taking our wedding photos? Go and get them taken first. Jing Shui can go with you to buy whatever you need." His tone was firm, leaving no room for argument. Xu Hui pouted. "Exactly, it's not because of me that you don't want to go, is it, sis?" Jing Shui didn't want to argue any further, so she nodded in agreement to go. Early in the morning, the sound of Yu Qinxian coaxing Xu Hui to get up could be heard from her room, his voice full of pleading. The bright red number on the calendar reminded Jing Shui, 4 days left. In 4 days, Jing Shui would finally be free from this life. They finally shuffled out of the room. Just as Jing Shui was about to lose her patience, Yu Qinxian dutifully fetched hot water and personally washed Xu Hui's face. The old Jing Shui had been blind, naively believing that, if she married him, he would treat her the same way. Jing Shui was lost in thought when Yu Qinxian shuffled awkwardly over to her, a ring clutched in his hand. "Sister-in-law Zhou says it's all the rage to wear wedding rings now. Jing Shui bought one for you." Jing Shui didn't take it. There had been no such ring in her previous life. Xu Hui pouted the moment she saw it. "So pretty, I want one too." Jing Shui graciously yielded. "All right, you can have it then." Yu Qinxuan's face instantly darkened. "Stop fooling around. That's our wedding ring." Xu Hui snatched the ring, slipped it onto her own finger, and waved her hand in front of Yu Qinxuan's face. "Brother Xian, does Jing Shui look good wearing it?" Yu Qinxian looked at Xu Hui, his eyes full of adoration, and nodded with a silly grin. Then, feeling guilty, he turned to Jing Shui and whispered, "I'll buy you one next time, I promise." Jing Shui gave a nonchalant nod. She had heard his promises 100 times before, not one had ever been kept. At the photo studio, Xu Hui went first, even taking quite a few pictures with Yu Qinxian. When it was Jing Shui and Yu Qinxuan's turn, the photographer raised the camera, only to lower it awkwardly. "Oh, my apologies, the film's all used up." Jing Shui was secretly delighted, but kept a straight face. "Oh well, never mind then." After leaving the photo studio, Yu Qinxian took a train ticket from his pocket and handed it to Jing Shui. "It's a standing room only ticket to the capital in 4 days. I don't mean to leave you behind. I'll go get settled first and wait for you in the capital. The journey from here to the capital takes 3 days and 3 nights. Jing Shui couldn't fathom how the man thought he could endure standing the whole way. "And there's only one spot on this tour. If she really goes, where will she stay?" But asking now obviously won't yield a good answer. Seeing Jing Shui accept the ticket, Yu Qinxian visibly relaxed. "Don't worry, even if we don't live in the base compound, you will still be my one and only wife. Jing Shui will treat you well in the future. He only sees Xu Hui as a younger sister." Xing Shui's expression softened a little. When had he ever spoken such gentle words? Perhaps he wasn't entirely indifferent to her after all. A sedan suddenly shot out from around the corner, heading straight for them. Yu Qinxian pulled Xu Hui into his arms and swiftly dodged aside. In the chaos, someone shoved Xing Shui, sending her stumbling forward. To her horror, the sedan in her line of sight was heading straight for Xing Shui, yet she was frozen in terror, unable to move a muscle. At the very last second, the car swerved sharply, narrowly missing her vital areas, yet the tremendous force of the impact sent her flying, dragging her several meters across the ground. The pain was so intense that Xing Shui's vision went black, and cold sweat poured down her face. The driver scrambled out of the car in a panic and stammered to Xing Shui, "Miss, are you okay? Are you hurt?" The crowd slowly gathered, pointing and murmuring. Xing Shui's gaze cut through the crowd. Coming to rest firmly on Yu Qinxian, he was holding Xu Hui, comforting her, completely oblivious to what was happening with Xing Shui. Perhaps he had noticed, or perhaps he simply didn't care. A bitter smile touched Xing Shui's lips as the last trace of hesitation in her heart vanished completely. So, this is what he meant by "I'll treat you better in the future." The driver took Xing Shui to the hospital. After a series of examinations, it turned out to be just superficial wounds and a minor internal organ displacement. Lying in the hospital bed, Xing Shui ached all over, yet felt an oddly serene calm within. Yu Qinxian stayed by the bedside of the severely shaken Xing Shui, not leaving her side for a moment. It wasn't until the woman was sound asleep that he belatedly remembered Xing Shui was still lying in the hospital. Late at night, Yu Qinxian entered Xing Shui's hospital room, his face etched with exhaustion. He saw that Xing Shui was awake, and a flicker of panic crossed his face. "Shui, how are you feeling? Any better?" Xing Shui stared at him coldly, saying nothing. He wrung his hands, offering a flustered explanation. Xu Hui was a bit too shaken up. Xing Shui has been staying with her, so. Under Xing Shui's gaze, he trailed off awkwardly and fell silent. "Shui, listen to me. The situation was too urgent. The car was so close to Xu Hui. I just reacted on instinct." He paused, as if searching for the right words. "I didn't know you would get hit." Xing Shui cut him off. "When are you planning to go to Beijing?" He answered cautiously. "I'm leaving tomorrow." "Got it. I'm tired. You should go." Xing Shui closed her eyes, making her dismissal clear. Yu Qinxian wanted to say more, but in the end, he took the hint and left. The next day, Yu's mother arrived, carrying a thermal lunchbox. She beamed and said, "Shui, Qinxian asked me to come look after you. Are you feeling any better?" "Much better, thank you, Mom." As she ladled soup for Xing Shui, she chattered away. "Qinxian is such a clumsy boy. I'm not sure if he can take good care of Xu Hui." Mid-sentence, she seemed to suddenly realize something and awkwardly fell silent. "Mom. Actually, the one who married Yu Qinxian is Xu Hui." Mother Yu was stunned. It took her a long moment to process this. "You, what did you say?" "The marriage application I submitted is for Xing Xu Hui." Mother Yu was first struck with shock, which then instantly transformed into overwhelming joy. "Shui, you're such a good child. I knew you were the most sensible one." She excitedly grasped Xing Shui's hands. "Thank you. Thank you for making this possible for them." Xing Shui gave a faint, wordless smile, doing her a favor. She was only doing herself a favor. "Mrs. You had favored Xing Shui all along, even in her past life, when Xing Shui served her diligently. Before her passing, Mrs. You still left all her estate to Xu Hui." "Mom, let's not tell Qinxian and Xu Hui about this for now." Mrs. You beamed from ear to ear. All right, I understand, dear. So, what are your plans for the future?" "I'll be leaving in a few days, too." Xing Shui did not reveal her specific destination. Yu's mother wanted to ask more, her mind completely preoccupied with their impending marriage. Xing Shui closed her eyes and pretended to be asleep. The day she was discharged from the hospital was also the day she was set to leave. Before her departure, Xing Shui wrote a letter to Yu Qinxian. "I know you've always had feelings for Xu Hui. I'll step aside for you too. Our fate has run its course. I wish you both happiness." Xing Shui placed the letter and the train ticket to Beijing, along with the marriage certificate, into an envelope and mailed it to the address in Beijing. Then, dragging her suitcase, she hurried towards the train station. Yu Qinxian felt a sense of unease. Xing Shui's recent coldness towards him felt like a thorn lodged in his heart, especially that look she gave him from the hospital bed. It was as calm and lifeless as a stagnant pond, filling him with an inexplicable dread. He couldn't help but call Mother Yu back in the village. "Mom, did Shui take the train to the capital today?" Mother Yu hemmed and hawed. She did. She left this morning." But in his heart, he was thinking, who knows where she's run off to. Thinking it over, She had to admit she really hadn't paid much attention to Jing Shui. The kid is good in every way, just a bit quiet and reserved, not like Xu Hui, who's so sociable and knows how to work a room, always with a sweet word to say. Upon hearing that Jing Shui had boarded the train, Yu Qinxian finally felt a sense of relief. He put down the phone and had just stepped out of the duty room when he saw Jing Shuhui once again pulling Battalion Commander Zhao Jianwei into a conversation. Zhao Jianwei was maintaining a polite distance with a look of helplessness. Spotting Yu Qinxian in the distance, it was as if he had seen a savior. "Captain Yu, over here. Your sister-in-law is about to rope someone into another favor." Before you could get any closer, Zhao Jianwei took off like a shot. Yu Qinxian walked up to Jing Shuhui with a frown. "Hui, what's wrong now? If there's something, you can talk to me directly, don't keep bothering other people." Jing Shuhui gave a reluctant acknowledgement. She knew perfectly well that she hadn't yet hooked Zhao Jianwei, and she couldn't afford to let Yu Qinxian slip away either. "Well, you are my brother-in-law after all. They were just small favors. I thought it best to avoid any appearance of impropriety." Yu Qinxian was puzzled. Why hadn't she been concerned about propriety before? But he didn't dwell on it, simply chalking it up to her being shy. A week later, he received a letter from Jing Shui. Inside the envelope, along with the brief farewell letter, were a train ticket to Beijing and their marriage certificate. It suddenly dawned on him that Jing Shui had never intended to come to Beijing. He was jolted by the memory of that day in the hospital, when Jing Shui asked him when he was leaving for Beijing, and he had replied, "Tomorrow." She hadn't shown a hint of reluctance or sadness. Panicked, he immediately called Yu's mother, demanding to know where Jing Shui had gone. Startled by his sudden outburst of anger, Yu's mother stammered that she didn't know either. "Mom, Shui is just a young woman, all alone in an unfamiliar place. Where could she possibly go?" Yu Qinshuan's voice was practically a shout, shouted down by him. Mother Yu felt a pang of guilt, remembering how filial Jing Shui usually was to her. Her heart was also filled with remorse. I don't know either. She didn't say anything." Yu Qinxian hung up the phone, his mind in complete turmoil. For the first time, he felt such panic, as if he had lost something profoundly important. Jing Shuhui held the bright red marriage certificate, her face paler than the paper itself. She stared at Yu Qinxian in disbelief, her voice rising to a shrill pitch as she cried out, "What is the meaning of this? You married me, how dare you?" Yu Qinxian wearily rubbed the space between his brows, his tone laced with an irritation he himself hadn't noticed. "Shui, she doesn't want me anymore. She said she's stepping aside for us." Jing Shuhui's voice was sharp. "Stepping aside? For what? Who does she think she is? What right does she have to make decisions for me? I never wanted to marry you in the first place." Yu Qinxian was stunned. He had never imagined Jing Shuhui would react this way. He had always thought that Jing Shuhui held some affection for him, those lingering glances full of unspoken words, and those deliberately intimate gestures. You don't like me." Jing Shuhui suddenly knelt before Yu Qinxian, her knees hitting the floor with a dull thud. She looked up, her face streaked with tears. "Brother Xian, please. You have to think of something. This marriage can't be valid." Yu Qinxian was startled by her sudden outburst and instinctively took a step back. Hui, what are you doing? Get up, quick." Jing Shuhui clung desperately to his pant leg, refusing to get up. "Brother Xian. It's Captain Zhao I'm in love with. Captain Zhao comes from a good family. Marrying him is the only way my life will have been worth living. Please, you have to help me. You don't want me to be miserable for the rest of my life, do you?" A frantic light gleamed in her eyes as she stared at Yu Qinxian, clinging to him like a lifeline. Zhao Jianhui, the battalion commander of the 2nd Battalion, was a local of the capital. Rumor had it his grandfather was a man of considerable influence. For Jing Shuhui, who was hell-bent on climbing the social ladder, this was a prime opportunity she couldn't possibly pass up. Her eyes now burned with a wild, desperate hunger. Not a trace of her former demure shyness left. A chill shot up Yu Qinshuan's spine. "You, get up." Seeing him relent, Jing Shuhui was immediately overjoyed. "Brother Xian, you're agreeing. You're really agreeing. Thank you so much. Let me see what I can do." Yu Qinxian shook her off and stumbled out the door. The train headed south, the scenery outside the window rushing past in a blur. Jing Shui watched the landscape flash by. She had taken this train countless times. It was the only time she was in the mood to truly appreciate the scenery. In her past life, the first time she took the train to the capital, she was both excited and apprehensive. She endured the long and arduous journey for the sole purpose of being with her beloved husband. But after stepping off the train, Yu Qinshuan's gaze, full of disdain, fell upon her disheveled and travel-worn figure. He uttered a single, icy sentence. "How can you be so slovenly?" In that moment, all her dreams shattered. After that, she threw herself into learning how to dress and present herself, striving to fit into life in the capital. Yet, Yu Qinshuan's heart was never truly with her. He looked down on her for being unsophisticated, for being uneducated, for being inarticulate. He even resented her for bearing his children. For the body that had become misshapen and unappealing, married life was all about the daily grind, a mess of trivialities and endless chores. When she thought back to that initial flutter of the heart, the memory felt strangely distant. Perhaps it was when she first arrived at the Yu household, feeling like an outsider and living in constant fear. Even when she dared not take an extra bite of food, he would still put more in her bowl. Or perhaps it was in middle school, when Mrs. Yu wanted to pull her out of school, and he stepped forward, saying, "If you won't let her continue, I'll support her, it won't cost much." In her youth, she was utterly and completely moved. When she learned she could be engaged to him, Xing Shui was secretly overjoyed, even knowing she was the consolation prize, that he did not love her. But it was the joy of youth, a naive infatuation. How could she not be willing? "Miss, wake up. We're almost at the station." A gruff voice pulled her back to reality from her reverie. Xing Shui opened her eyes. The train had already arrived in Shenzhen. As soon as she stepped off the train, a wave of heat hit her. The air of Shenzhen was thick with a damp, unfamiliar scent. It left her feeling slightly unsettled, yet with a faint, thrilling undercurrent. At that moment, however, Yu Qinshian was far from as at ease as Xing Shui. The political commissar's pointed conversation had him squirming in his seat. "Qinshian, you're still a newlywed. Why didn't you bring your wife? I heard you brought your sister-in-law instead." The political commissar rubbed his teacup, asking in a seemingly casual tone. Yu Qinshuan's face burned with embarrassment. She wanted to get out and see the world. The political commissar patted him on the shoulder, speaking with grave sincerity. "Your sister-in-law is young and doesn't know any better, but you should be more mindful of appearances. A man and a woman alone together, it's a compromising situation. If word got out, it wouldn't look good for your reputation. Next time you're on leave, you should bring your wife along." Stepping out of the office, Yu Qinshian felt his back was soaked with sweat. Recently, Xing Shuhui had been acting far too conspicuously, pestering Zhao Jianhui to chat with her all day long. The flight attendants at the base all knew that instead of bringing his new wife, he had taken his sister-in-law on the trip. Not to mention, some had even witnessed Yu Qinshian helping Xing Shuhui wash her intimate garments, making the rumors even more outrageous. He came home in a foul mood to find Xing Shuhui combing her hair in front of the mirror. Seeing him return, she immediately cooed in a sweet voice, "Brother Xian, give me 10 yuan, I'm going to the supply and marketing co-op to buy a silk scarf. I hear they're all the rage right now. Don't forget to make some meat for dinner tonight, I'm really craving it." Yu Qinshian stared at the clearly visible shoe print on the floor. He had accidentally stepped there the day before yesterday, and it still hadn't been cleaned up. A surge of inexplicable anger flared up inside him. Hui, why haven't you cleaned the house? And you just asked for 20 yuan for clothes a few days ago. Why are you asking for more again today? That's no way to live." Xing Shuhui tossed her comb aside, pouted, and looked displeased. "You can't make ends meet just because I asked for that little bit. Xian, do you think I'm a burden? Captain Zhao is way more generous than you. I saw him just casually hand his sister $50. Yu Qinshian was deeply troubled. Lately, he couldn't shake the feeling that Xing Shuhui had changed. She had become spoiled, willful, and insatiably greedy. Although the old Xing Shuhui had also been materialistic. At least she used to put on a gentle and considerate act in front of him, but now she can't even be bothered to pretend. He rubbed his temples and explained with forced patience, Hui, it's not that I'm looking down on you, it's just that our circumstances are limited right now." Yu Qinshian sighed, pulling a crumpled 10 yuan bill from his pocket and handing it to Xing Shuhui. She snatched it away, beaming with joy. "You're the best. Xianji. I want braised pork belly for dinner, don't forget to add extra sugar." With that, she clattered out the door. The political commissar's warning came back to him, and a dull ache began to throb in his head. The room was a mess, dust and footprints covered the floor, and the air was thick with a sour, stale smell. Yu Qinshian ran a hand through his hair in frustration, then rolled up his sleeves and got to work. He bent down to pick up the dirty clothes from the floor. A wave of cheap, cloying perfume hit him, making him gag. This scent was a world away from the faint, clean smell of soap that always clung to Xing Shui. An image of Xing Shui flashed before his eyes. She always quietly kept the house spotlessly clean. After their engagement, she stayed at the base, doing his laundry, cooking his meals. and mending his clothes. She never spent money frivolously, even secretly taking on work gluing paper boxes just to afford some meat for him. Yu Chenxian murmured to himself, Shui, when I find you, I will make a proper apology. In Shenzhen, Xing Shui stared at the thick professional textbooks, feeling utterly overwhelmed. After her rebirth, her knowledge had almost completely atrophied. Trying to pick it all up again now felt like an impossible task. Xing Shui ran her fingers through her hair in frustration. I'm doomed. To avoid a complete disaster on her final exams, she had to spend every day buried in the library, slogging through textbooks full of impenetrable jargon. In the evenings, Xing Shui also worked a shift at a small diner, waiting tables, washing dishes, wiping counters. She was run off her feet, her clothes were soaked with sweat. Her back ached as if it might fall apart, yet she felt an immense sense of solidity. Compared to her past life, trapped in a cramped base and revolving around Yu Chenxian and the children, now she was free, vibrant, and radiant. At 11 o'clock in the evening, the restaurant closed for the night. Xing Shui stepped out of the restaurant, her body heavy with exhaustion, only to find the sky had opened up in a torrential downpour. She hadn't brought an umbrella, so she had no choice but to grit her teeth and make a dash for the dormitory. You're from Shenzhen University, right? Let me walk you. It's not good for your health to get soaked like this all the way back. Suddenly, an umbrella appeared, sheltering her from the rain. Xing Shui looked up and saw a tall young man. He had delicate features and wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. The young man was so tall that Xing Shui barely reached his shoulder. He deliberately tilted the umbrella toward Xing Shui. Half of her shoulder was exposed to the elements and quickly became soaked by the rain. The two of them walked in silence most of the way. Xing Shui stole glances at the boy, whose features were refined and whose gaze was gentle. He carried with him a clean, refreshing aura. Upon reaching the dormitory building, Xing Shui expressed her gratitude. Thank you. What's your name? The young man smiled, revealing a set of white teeth. I'm Gu Jingchuan, from the computer science department. And you? I'm Xing Shui, from the foreign languages department. Gu Jingchuan gave a wave and turned, disappearing into the curtain of rain. As Xing Shui watched Gu Jingchuan's receding figure, a wave of warmth washed over her heart. This unexpected kindness offered her a sliver of solace in the unfamiliar city. Meanwhile, Yu Chenxian emerged from the political commissar's office, his face ashen with fury. A marriage certificate cannot be voided. The only way out is divorce. For Yu Chenxian, the stigma of divorce was far more unacceptable to him than marrying the wrong person. For a flight attendant with such a bright future, getting divorced so soon after marriage would look very bad and be quite damaging. Yu Chenxuan's mother called right after. Chenxian, dear, I know you're hurting, but Xu Hui is your wife now. You can't just talk about divorce so lightly. Besides, didn't you used to be quite fond of her? Maybe it's best to just let things be. Yu Chenxian held the phone. Remaining silent, he used to genuinely find Xu Hui gentle and lovely, the ideal wife material. But lately, his patience with her has been stretched almost to its breaking point. He has talked to Xing Hui countless times, hoping she would help out with the housework, at the very least, so he could have a hot meal waiting when he got back from training. But Xing Hui always shot back with righteous indignation. I don't know how. I've never cooked a meal in my life. Didn't you used to say it didn't matter if I couldn't? So why are you suddenly making all these demands of me now? He was taken aback. He didn't know what had gotten into him lately. His mind kept comparing her to Xing Shui and Xing Hui, wishing she would learn to be as frugal and diligent in managing the household as Xing Shui. He rubbed his temples in frustration, a wave of irritation washing over him. He stood at the entrance to the base, unwilling to go inside. Chenxian. Why are you just standing out here? Asked Auntie Li from next door, holding a bag of groceries with a puzzled look. Yu Chenxian forced a weak smile. It's nothing, really. Sister-in-law Li grabbed his arm and pulled him aside, speaking in a hushed, secretive tone. Chenxian, your sister-in-law borrowed a radio ticket from my Jiangwo a while back. She said she'd return it in a couple of days, but we haven't heard a peep since. What do you think about this? Sister-in-law Li looked frantic. She had gone to great lengths to get a radio ticket as a birthday gift for her mother-in-law, only for her husband to thoughtlessly lend it out. Now her mother-in-law brings it up every single day, and the constant nagging is driving her up the wall. Yu Chenxian was completely baffled, clearly unaware of the matter. A radio ticket, Xu Hui borrowed it. Another sister-in-law came over and blurted out without any preamble. Chenxian. Your sister-in-law borrowed 50 yuan from me on Wednesday and told me to collect it from you. Don't you dare try to weasel out of it. Yu Chenxuan's expression grew increasingly grim. 40 yuan was no small sum. His monthly stipend is barely over 100 yuan. and Jing Shuhui borrowed that much money without even saying a word. Me too, me too. An elderly woman with graying hair pushed her way in. Your sister-in-law said she needed to buy fabric for a new dress. She took 20 yuan from me, promising to pay it back in a few days. That was ages ago. Soon, more and more neighbors from the compound gathered around, all chattering at once about how Jing Shuhui had been borrowing money. Yu Chenxian felt his head buzzing. Lately, Jing Shuhui had been constantly asking him for money. He refused, and after making a fuss for a while, she stopped. He thought she had finally accepted her situation, but it turned out she was borrowing money from everyone. Suppressing his rage, he forced a thin smile. Ladies, aunties, my apologies. I truly had no idea about this. Tell you what, let me go home and check on this situation first. I'll get back to you all with an answer. With that, he practically fled into the base in a panic. As soon as he entered, he saw Jing Shuhui wearing a Dacron dress she had asked someone to buy from Shanghai, applying makeup in front of the mirror. Shuhui, you. Just as Yu Chenxian began to speak, Jing Shuhui cut him off in a coquettish tone. Oh, brother Shen, you're back. Hey, come take a look. Does this outfit look good on me? I'm going to Captain Zhao's for dinner later. I can't afford to embarrass myself. Yu Chenxian watched her like this, feeling a wave of irritation. Shuhui, have you been borrowing a lot of money lately? Jing Shuhui's hand paused while applying her lipstick, and her eyes darted away. She feigned surprise and said, borrow money? No, what are you talking about? No, then what about Sister Li and Sister Wang? They both said you borrowed money from them. Jing Shuhui's expression changed, and she immediately began to cry in distress. Brother Xian, how can you not believe me? They're all talking nonsense. Why on earth would I borrow money from them? I've always been a good girl. Seeing her tearful, pitiful appearance, Yu Chenxian felt even more irritated. He grabbed Jing Shuhui by the shoulders, his tone severe. Shuhui, you'd better tell me the truth. How much money did you actually borrow? Jing Shuhui was startled by him and said through sobs, I only borrowed a little bit. How much is a little bit? Just a few hundred. Jing Shuhui's voice grew fainter. A few $100. Yu Chenxian felt like he was about to break down. Jing Shuhui, do you have any idea what a few $100 even means? My monthly allowance is only 100, and you borrowed this much money. Seeing that her secret was out, Jing Shuhui stopped playing the victim and instead spoke with righteous indignation. So what if I borrowed money? You wouldn't help me get together with Captain Zhao, so I had to buy gifts and make an effort myself. Just look at those senior flight attendants. Every single one of them is dripping with gold and jewels. How can I possibly go out looking this shabby? Yu Chenxian let out a bitter laugh at her words. Fine, you win. What about the radio ticket then? How do you explain that? A smug look filled Jing Shuhui's eyes. I bought a radio. That was my gift for my future mother-in-law. Captain Zhao's mother loved it. Well, she invited me over to her place for dinner tonight. Brother Xian, doesn't it reflect well on you too if I marry well? When the time comes, I can whisper in his ear. Who knows, I might even help you get a promotion. As she spoke, she reached out to take Yu Chenxuan's arm, but he shook her off. Yu Chenxian stared at her impassively. The Zhao family would never accept a woman who's been married before. Jing Shuhui was stunned. Married before? What do you mean? Yu Chenxian let out a cold laugh. Our marriage certificate can't be annulled. The only way out is divorce. What kind of man do you think Zhao Jianhui is? Do you really believe he'd marry a divorcee? As if struck by a bolt from the blue, Jing Shuhui stood frozen in place. She sobbed, murmuring to herself, it can't be, it can't be. She had always dreamed of marrying into a powerful, influential family to live a life of luxury and ease. For the first time, she regretted stealing Yu Chenxian away from Jing Shui, her dream of becoming the battalion commander's wife. Her bright future, all of it was gone, just like that. Jing Shui was completely unaware of everything that had happened at the base. Jing Shui was scratching her head over a calculus problem, her brow furrowed in deep frustration. Sitting across from her, Gu Jingchuan watched with a look of utter helplessness. I can't remember the integration formulas, and I keep mixing up the differentiation rules. How on earth did you get into Shenzhen University? Jing Shui stuck out her tongue guiltily and muttered under her breath, oh, come on. Explain it one more time, just once. She held up a finger and gave a playful wink. She had no idea how she could have forgotten it so completely. A hint of tenderness, almost imperceptible, flickered in Gu Jingchuan's eyes. He cleared his throat, picked up his pen, and resumed his explanation. As she watched Gu Jingchuan's focused profile, Jing Shui found her mind beginning to wander. After running into Gu Jingchuan a few times at the library, they had gradually started to cross paths, somehow. Before she knew it, he was tutoring her in math. Did you get that? Gu Jingchuan's voice snapped her out of her thoughts. Jing Shui snapped back to reality, staring blankly at the practice problems in front of her. Seeing this, a vein twitched at Gu Jingchuan's temple. He put down his pen and rubbed the space between his eyebrows. Focus on your work. I'll take you to the food street later to grab a bite and clear your head, as if I'd want it. Jing Shui pouted. Putting on a deliberately haughty air, Gu Jingchuan watched her childish display, a smile unconsciously tugging at the corner of his mouth. You're getting livelier by the day. You used to look so burdened and serious. Jing Shui was taken aback for a moment, then broke into a relieved smile. Indeed, in this life, she had never known the pain of unrequited love, nor the daily grind of making ends meet. So it's no wonder she grew more and more vivacious, isn't it? The two of them packed up their books and walked out of the library, chatting and laughing. They were just discussing which food stall to go to. The security guard suddenly called out to Jing Shui, Miss Jing, there's a letter for you. Jing Shui was taken aback for a moment before accepting the envelope. Seeing that the sender was her homeroom teacher, a faint sense of unease began to stir within her. She tore open the envelope and quickly scanned the letter's contents. Her face instantly turning deathly pale, the letter mentioned that Yu Qinshuan's family was searching everywhere for her whereabouts. Under pressure, the homeroom teacher revealed the news that she had come to study at Shenzhen University. Gu Jingchuan noticed her unusual demeanor and asked with concern, "What's wrong?" Jing Shui forced a smile, crumpled the letter into a ball, and stuffed it into her pocket. "It's nothing. Just a small family matter." Gu Jingchuan looked at her slightly pale face, his brow furrowing with concern, but he didn't press the matter further. Back in the dormitory, Jing Shui could no longer maintain her composure. She thought he couldn't wait to be rid of her, so she was surprised by how closely he was tracking her movements. Could he be having regrets? Regrets about marrying Jing Shuhui? She dismissed the thought as soon as it surfaced. Yu Qinshuan's pride would never allow him to admit a mistake. Besides, he loved Jing Shuhui so much, how could he possibly regret it? Jing Shui spent the day in a state of anxious unease. That night, she tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep, her mind filled with Yu Qinshuan's cold, indifferent face. She didn't know if he would come to Shenzhen, nor what he might do. The fear of the unknown was suffocating. At the base, Jing Shuhui, for once, got up unusually early and went to the cafeteria to get breakfast. "Brother Xian, breakfast is ready." Yu Qinshian glanced at the plain congee and steamed buns on the table and snorted coldly. "What kind of trick are you trying to pull this time? Need money?" Jing Shuhui's eyes instantly welled up with tears. "Brother Xian, I was wrong. I was blinded before. I thought about it all last night. It's my fault. I'll never do it again." Yu Qinshuan's expression softened slightly, but the suspicion in his eyes did not completely fade. Seeing this, Jing Shuhui immediately wrapped her arms around Yu Qinshuan's waist, weeping with a heart-wrenching, delicate sorrow. "Brother Xian, I don't want to marry Captain Zhao anymore. We're already married. Can't we just live a good life together?" She buried her face in Yu Qinshuan's chest, her voice soft and pleading. Like a frightened kitten, Yu Qinshian shifted uncomfortably. Unaccustomed to Jing Shuhui's sudden and intimate display of affection, he instinctively wanted to push her away, but found himself hesitating. "I have to go to training." Jing Shuhui immediately let go and nodded obediently. "All right, go ahead, be careful." After Yu Qinshian left, the fragile look on Jing Shuhui's face vanished instantly, replaced by a flicker of triumph in her eyes. Yu Qinshuan's aloofness meant nothing to her, since she couldn't latch onto Captain Zhao. She would cling tightly to Yu Qinshian instead. "Men, they're all the same." Yu Qinshian held the slip of paper with the address, rubbing it between his fingers over and over. It listed Jing Shui's address at Shenzhen University. He clutched the note, his mind a whirl of conflict. He didn't know if he should go to her, nor what he would even do if he did. "Captain, I'd like to request a day off." The co-pilot's earnest voice snapped Yu Qinshian out of his thoughts. Yu Qinshian looked up to see the co-pilot standing awkwardly in the doorway, a bag of brown sugar in his hand. "What's wrong? Something going on at home?" The co-pilot scratched his head sheepishly. "My wife's got her period, and she's in a lot of pain. I need to go home and take care of her." Yu Qinshian was taken aback for a moment, then chuckled. "Is it really that bad? Don't women go through this every month?" The co-pilot shot him a disapproving look. "If I don't take care of my own wife, who will?" "Captain, does your wife get bad cramps during her period?" Yu Qinshian was caught off guard by the question. Did Jing Shui get them? It seemed like she did. He had seen her before, lying in bed pale-faced and clutching her stomach. His brow was furrowed, a sheen of fine sweat beading on his forehead. He had made her ginger tea with brown sugar before, but ever since Jing Shuhui moved into the base, the household's brown sugar was all reserved for Jing Shuhui. and he gradually let the matter slip his mind. It suddenly dawned on him that, as her fiancé, he had been terribly neglectful of her. "Captain," the co-pilot called out again, seeing him lost in thought. Yu Qianxian snapped back to reality, a wave of indescribable guilt washing over him. He stood up, walked over to the co-pilot, and patted him on the shoulder. "Permission granted, take good care of your wife." The co-pilot grinned, flashing a set of pearly whites. "Thanks, Captain." Yu Qianxian turned and went to the political commissar's office, explained the situation, and requested leave. Although puzzled, the political commissar approved it. He didn't know if this trip of his was the right thing to do, but he knew he had to do something. The green train sped southward. A woman beside him wore a Dacron Lenin suit. He remembered how Xing Shui had once gazed at a Lenin suit in a shop window, her eyes sparkling with longing. "When I've saved up enough money, I'll wear this for our wedding photo." "Okay." Her voice at that moment was as gentle as a spring breeze. He just gave a non-committal then promptly took Xing Shuhui out to a restaurant. Later, that Lenin suit ended up on Xing Shuhui, and the wedding photo never materialized. Next stop, Shenzhen. The announcement over the loudspeaker pulled Yu Qianxian back to the present from his reverie. Following the address on the slip of paper, he asked for directions along the way and eventually found Shenzhen University. The university's main gate was far more imposing than he had imagined, bustling with energetic students coming and going. The bell rang, and students poured out of the classroom like a tidal wave. He spotted Xing Shui immediately. She was discussing a problem with a few classmates, a brilliant smile lighting up her face. She had cut her hair short, giving her a crisp and capable look. Gone was her former timidity. It was as if she had been reborn as a completely new person. Yu Qianxian was utterly transfixed, his heart pounding in his chest. It was only then that he realized how delicate and refined Xing Shui's features truly were. It was just that her usual, sullen expression had always obscured her beauty. He took a deep breath, gathered his courage, and walked over. "Shui." Xing Shui heard someone call her name. She turned around and saw Yu Qianxian, the smile instantly vanishing from her face. "What are you doing here?" He looked into Xing Shui's cold eyes, and a sudden wave of panic welled up inside him. He felt that she had changed, that she was no longer the gentle, compliant Xing Shui he once knew. Yu Qianxian walked up to her, his gaze burning into her. "I'm here to take you back to Jing City." "Jing City? What would I do there? I'm not the one getting married." It was as if a bucket of ice-cold water had been dumped over Yu Qianxuan's head. "Why would you do this? Why did you put Xu Hui's name on the marriage application? Why didn't you go to the capital?" Xing Shui stared at him coldly, her gaze sharp as a knife. "I don't want a husband whose heart belongs to someone else. That's disgusting, absolutely revolting." He stared at her in disbelief. "How can you say that? You were never like this before." Xing Shui lowered her gaze, veiling the mockery in her eyes. "Yu Qianxian, all I want now is to focus on my studies, and start a new life. Xu Hui is the one you've always wanted, isn't she? You two should cherish each other and leave me alone." Yu Qianxian ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "What nonsense are you talking about? I've always thought of Xu Hui as a sister." Xing Shui let out a cold laugh. "What kind of siblings hug and cuddle, and kiss on the lips?" She remembered that time when she accidentally caught Yu Qianxian stealing a kiss from a sleeping Xing Shui. That tender expression was something she would never forget for the rest of her life. That tenderness had never belonged to her. A flicker of shame and indignation crossed Yu Qianxuan's face, quickly turning into furious embarrassment. "Xing Shui, don't you dare spout such nonsense. My relationship with Xu Hui is completely innocent." Xing Shui's voice was icy, carrying a bone-chilling coldness. "What you call sibling affection is utterly disgusting to me. Let me go, and let yourself go too." Yu Qianxuan's face turned ashen, but he didn't know what to say. The Shenzhen sun bathed Xing Shui, casting a golden glow upon her. She seemed to radiate a dazzling light from within. It was blinding to him, and it made him feel utterly inadequate. Xing Shui broke the silence. "If there's nothing else, I'll be going now." Yu Qianxian watched her receding figure. The Xing Shui before him now felt like a complete stranger. Yu Qianxian remembered their childhood, when Xing Shui would always follow closely in his footsteps. She would call him Big Brother in that sweet, childish voice. Her large, glistening eyes filled with adoration, yet Xing Shui was always quiet and withdrawn, hiding in the corner like a shadow. Gradually, his attention became entirely focused on this lively and adorable younger sister. Xing Shui's quiet and reserved nature struck him as dull and boring, while Xing Shui's coquettish, playful manner made his heart flutter. When Xing Shui pushed him toward Xing Shui, he felt deeply uncomfortable at the time. He felt that Xing Shui didn't value him enough, and even accepted the marriage arrangement somewhat out of spite. After their engagement, he wasn't oblivious to Jing Shui's kindness towards him. She took meticulous care of his daily life, doing his laundry and cooking his meals. She even nursed him tirelessly when he fell ill. Yet, he took it all for granted and even found her somewhat bothersome. Yet he had never considered the sacrifice and forbearance that lay behind such gentleness. He passed by a supply and marketing cooperative. In its window was displayed a gray Dacron shirt. He thought of how Jing Shui always wore old clothes, faded from washing. And a pang of sorrow struck his heart. He wanted to buy her a new dress, a fine linen suit, but the money he had on him was no longer enough. He felt the few remaining bills in his pocket, just enough for one Dacron shirt. He walked into the supply and marketing cooperative and said to the clerk, "Comrade, I'd like that gray Dacron shirt." The clerk took the shirt from the display window and handed it to him. Holding the shirt, he pictured Jing Shui wearing it, and a faint, involuntary smile touched the corner of his mouth. Everyone in the dorm was chattering away. Unsurprisingly, the main topic of conversation was the plans for tomorrow's Mid-Autumn Festival. One roommate asked excitedly, "We have the day off for Mid-Autumn Festival tomorrow. What should we do?" Another girl, who was from out of town, said with a hint of sadness, "I thought it would be nice for us all to get together. We can celebrate the reunion festival right here at school." She looked at Jing Shui. "Shui, you'll join us too, won't you?" Jing Shui was momentarily lost in thought. The Mid-Autumn Festival, it was also her birthday. Even as a child, when she was overlooked by her parents, she would still get a little cupcake on her birthday. After she was adopted, no one remembered it anymore. She gave a slight nod. "Okay." Just then, someone called out, "Jing Shui, someone is here to see you downstairs." Coming downstairs, Jing Shui was surprised to see Gu Jingchuan. "Is something up?" Gu Jingchuan looked at her, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Any plans for tomorrow?" "Dinner with my roommates, then a movie." Jingchuan chuckled softly and produced an exquisitely wrapped box from behind his back, handing it to her. "Happy early birthday." Then, Jing Shui was stunned. "How did you know my birthday is tomorrow?" Gu Jingchuan smiled meaningfully. "I'm not telling." Jing Shui was a bit flustered as she accepted it. This was the first time anyone had ever given her a birthday present. It was the first time anyone had given her a gift with such solemnity. But Gu Jingchuan simply pressed it into her hand. "If you feel awkward about it, just get me a gift for my birthday. I love receiving presents." Jing Shui's face flushed. She nodded, about to ask when his birthday was. An angry voice exploded. "What the hell are you doing?" Yu Chenxian stormed over, glaring fixedly at the gift in Jing Shui's hands. "How can you just accept a gift from a man so casually?" Interrupted. Jing Shui lost all interest and shot him a cold glance. "What's it to you?" Her cold attitude stung Yu Chenxian, leaving a sour, bitter taste in his heart. She had been all smiles for that other man, yet now she was as cold as ice towards him. Yu Chenxuan's tone was firm and unyielding. "Give it back to him. I bought you some clothes." As he spoke, he held out the neatly folded Dacron shirt in his hand to Jing Shui. Without even looking at it, Jing Shui flatly refused. "No, thank you." Yu Chenxian grew agitated. "Why, you'll accept gifts from other men, but not from me. Are you already that taken with someone else?" Gu Jingchuan spoke coolly. "Watch your tone. I was merely giving her a birthday gift." Intimidated by Gu Jingchuan's imposing presence, Yu Chenxian took a step back and retorted instinctively, "It's nowhere near her birthday. Her birthday is clearly May 26th. A chill spread from the depths of Jing Shui's heart. With a cold expression, she said, "That was Jing Shui's birthday." Yu Chenxian froze. Was today Jing Shui's birthday? He couldn't recall any memory of her celebrating a birthday. All he remembered were the lively scenes of their parents celebrating Jing Shui's birthday, accompanied by a casual, offhand remark, "Let's consider this a celebration for Shui too." A complex, indescribable feeling welled up inside him, but he quickly pushed it down. He retorted defiantly, "Are you that close to her? What gives you the right to buy her a birthday gift?" Jing Shui grabbed Gu Jingchuan's arm, her voice icy. "Let's go. Don't pay him any mind." Watching their intimate exchange, Yu Chenxian felt a bitter surge of jealousy churn within him. "What are you so upset about now? You used to complain I never bought you anything, and now that I have, this is the attitude I get." Gu Jingchuan took a step forward, blocking Yu Chenxuan's aggressive gaze. His eyes fell on the gray shirt in his arms, his tone laced with a hint of sarcasm. "Shui doesn't like gray, and this one is obviously the wrong size." Yu Chenxuan's face darkened. "What would you know? Most of her clothes are gray. How could she not like it?" Jing Shui said flatly, "Because it's cheap and well made." "Didn't you buy this for me because it was cheap, too?" When Yu Chenxian met her cool, detached gaze, he felt as exposed and vulnerable as if he'd been stripped naked. It was true. He'd had enough money to buy the other one in navy blue. But this gray one was cheaper, and it was on sale because the hem was slightly discolored. He figured Jing Shui wouldn't mind. She had always been frugal and had very simple needs, unlike Jing Shui, who always has to have the very best of everything. At that moment, a wave of shame washed over him. He stammered, wanting to explain, but at a loss for words. Jing Shui had no desire to continue this entanglement. Her tone was final. I will not be returning to Beijing with you. You're a married man, stop bothering me, I'm doing just fine now. For the next few days, Yu Qinxian continued to linger around the school. Jing Shui made a point of avoiding him, wanting nothing more to do with him, but Jing Shui never expected that he would go to the principal and try to have her expelled. When Jing Shui was summoned to the principal's office, Yu Qinxian was sitting rigidly upright, fuming with rage. Jing Shui demanded, Yu Qinxian, what on earth are you trying to do? What gives you the right to demand I drop out? Just listen to me and come back with me. I don't have much leave left. He stood up, walked over to Jing Shui, and reached out to take her hand. Jing Shui took a sharp step back, evading his touch. Go back. Go back and keep watching you. And Jing Shui being all lovey-dovey, his face stiffened, then he snapped in anger and embarrassment. Jing Shui, don't talk nonsense, we are husband and wife. After all, what's the point of you running off down south like this? What are we supposed to do? Just be in a long-distance relationship forever? Jing Shui was so infuriated by his shamelessness that she almost laughed. Yu Qinxian, your wife is Jing Shui. Her name is on the marriage certificate, and she's the one you're thinking of in your heart. His face turned ashen, and he said through gritted teeth, that was a mistake. A mistake must be set right. My past actions must have given you the wrong impression. I won't let that happen again. Jing Shui's heart sank. These were familiar lines. He had said them in a past life, too, and yet, in the end, he just turned around and got all lovey-dovey with Shui. Jing Shui turned to the principal and pleaded earnestly, Principal, I truly wish to continue my studies here. Please don't make me withdraw. The principal looked at Jing Shui, then at Yu Qinxian, pondered for a moment, and said, Mr. Yu, since you have no relation to student Jing Shui, you cannot process her withdrawal on her behalf. Jing Shui finally let out a sigh of relief. Yu Qinxian was about to say something more when the principal cut him off. Mr. Yu, if there's nothing else, please leave, I have work to attend to. Yu Qinxian was growing anxious as the holiday was slipping away day by day, but Jing Shui was not only avoiding him, her attitude towards him was also growing increasingly cold. Once again, he intercepted Jing Shui as she was leaving class. Seeing him, Jing Shui furrowed her brow and immediately turned to leave. Yu Qinxian lunged forward, blocking her path. Shui, please, let me explain. Before he could finish, a delicate figure darted out from behind him, a voice choked with sobs cried out, Sister. Yu Qinxian froze, rooted to the spot as if struck by lightning. It was Jing Shui. He hadn't told Jing Shui he was coming to Shenzhen this time. Guiltily, he glanced at Jing Shui, then looked back at the pitifully weeping Jing Shui, his mind going completely blank. Jing Shui threw her arms around Jing Shui's arm and wailed even louder, Sis, please, let's go back. I'll divorce Brother Xian. I promise, sis, I don't want this. I never meant to steal your husband. I'm a terrible person. The students nearby quickly gathered around, whispering and pointing. Jing Shui was so mortified she wanted to wrench herself free from Jing Shui's grip, yet that hand held fast to her sleeve, unyielding as a vice. Yu Qinshuan's heart softened. He looked at the two women before him. One was cold and resolute, the other fragile and helpless. He felt he had failed them both at once. He reached out to put his arm around Jing Shui's shoulder, but hesitated because of Jing Shui. His hand froze mid-air, then dropped limply to his side. Shui, please don't cry. This has nothing to do with you. Yu Qinshuan's voice was low and hoarse, tinged with a hint of barely perceptible guilt. How can you say it has nothing to do with me? It's all my fault. I shouldn't have fallen for Brother Xian. That's what caused my sister's misunderstanding. Jing Shui's sobs grew even more heart-wrenching, as if she had suffered a grave injustice. Watching this clumsy performance unfold before her, Jing Shui felt nothing but utter contempt. In her past life, Jing Shui was just the same, always playing the victim to win Yu Qinshuan's sympathy. The surrounding whispers grew louder, flooding Jing Shui's ears like a tidal wave. She refused to be a laughingstock any longer, and she certainly wouldn't be branded as the other woman. She wrenched her hand free from Jing Shui's grasp and declared loudly, I want no part in your marital affairs. I never wanted to be the other woman. You're just in time. Take your husband home and leave me alone. Jing Shui was shoved aside, staggering and nearly falling. Yu Qinxian quickly steadied her, asking with concern, Shui, are you all right? Jing Shui shook her head pitifully. her eyes brimming with tears as she looked at Yu Qian. Brother Xian, I'm fine, it's just. I think my sister really dislikes me. Shui, you've got it all wrong. Yu Qian looked at Jing Shui, trying to explain. Xu Hui and I. Jing Shui had no patience for his excuses and turned to leave. All she wanted now was to get away from both of them. To escape this whole farce, Yu Qian watched Jing Shui's resolute retreating figure, a wave of frustration washing over him. He had intended to explain himself properly and salvage their marriage. But Jing Shui's attitude left him with no way in. Jing Shui nestled into Yu Qian's embrace. He stole a glance in the direction Jing Shui had left, a faint, cold sneer curling at the corner of his mouth. In the guesthouse room, Jing Shui sat on the edge of the bed, tears streaming down her face. Brother Xian, do you look down on me now? Do you think I'm not as good as my sister? Yu Qian looked at her, momentarily at a loss for words. He had never imagined he would find himself in such an awkward predicament. He sighed and sat down beside Jing Shui, yet dared not touch her. Shui, don't let your imagination run wild. How could that be? With tear-filled, blurry eyes, Jing Shui looked up at him pitifully. Brother Xian, I knew back then that my sister liked you, so I buried my own feelings deep in my heart and let the two of you get engaged. I thought I could let go, but fate has tied us together again. Brother Xian, I want to build a life with you, I truly do. As she spoke, she grasped Yu Qian's hand, her slender fingers trembling slightly. If you truly can't let go of my sister, then I'll go beg her, I'll go kneel and plead with her. Xu Hui, please don't do this. She looked up at him, her eyes blurred with tears. As he looked at Jing Shui, the image of Jing Shui's resolute, retreating figure flashed in his mind, filling him with inner turmoil. Xu Hui, I'm sorry. He finally spoke the truth in his heart. I did have feelings for you once, but I can't let go of Shui. I've let her down too much. We were indeed too close in the past. I don't blame her for misunderstanding, but I will treat her well from now on. Jing Shui's expression froze, her carefully crafted look of pitiful vulnerability nearly crumbling. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to muster a smile. It's okay, Brother Xian, I understand. I never meant to take sister away from you. She paused, then added in a low voice, I'm hungry. It was only then that Yu Qian remembered they had been on the road all this time and hadn't had dinner. He stood up, patted Jing Shui on the shoulder, and said, I'll go get some food, wait here for me. Jing Shui nodded obediently and watched as Yu Qian walked away. Once the door clicked shut, she pulled a small white packet from her bag. She carefully tore it open and poured the powder inside into a glass of water. It was an aphrodisiac she'd gone to great lengths to get from a veterinarian, meant for pigs, and notoriously potent. She'd only used a third of it. That should be more than enough. As she watched the clear water in the cup grow murky, a cold smirk curled at the corner of Jing Shui's lips. In this life, Yu Qian was fated to be hers. By the time Yu Qian returned, Jing Shui had already resumed her usual facade of delicate helplessness. She took the boxed meal he handed her and began eating it in small, delicate bites. She would glance up at him from time to time, her eyes filled with adoration. Yu Qian couldn't bring himself to look at her, his guilt growing heavier. He felt he had wronged both Jing Shui and Jing Shui. He picked up a piece of meat and placed it in Jing Shui's bowl. Eat more, you're too thin. Jing Shui gave a sweet, obedient nod and smiled. Thanks, Xianji. After the meal, Jing Shui picked up a glass of water and offered it to Yu Qian. Here, Xianji, have some water. Yu Qian took the glass and drank it all in one go. In less than 5 minutes, Yu Qian began to feel his body growing hotter and hotter. A wave of feverish heat rose from the depths of his being. His breathing grew ragged, his gaze distant and unfocused. Jing Shui let herself fall into Yu Qian's arms, a flicker of triumph flashing in her eyes. He murmured, reaching out to stroke Jing Shui's cheek. Shui, I've missed you so much. A wave of revulsion washed over Jing Shui, but she forced herself not to show it. With a soft, coquettish murmur, she leaned in and pressed her lips to Yu Qian's. The night was one of tender passion. The next morning, Yu Qian awoke with a splitting headache. As he looked at the sleeping Jing Shui beside him, his heart was filled with regret and self-reproach. He had a vague recollection of something happening last night, but the memory was hazy. The only thing he could recall was mistaking Jing Shui for Jing Shui. Rubbing her eyes, Jing Shui asked, Brother Xian, you're awake? Seeing her bleary-eyed look, Yu Qian felt even more flustered. He didn't know how to face Jing Shui, let alone how to face Jing Shui. Shui, I'm sorry. A wave of helplessness washed over him. He and Jing Shui truly had no future together. Xing Shuhui seemed to have anticipated his words. She leaned into his embrace. Brother Xian, please don't say that. I understand everything. I don't blame you. I was willing. After all, we are husband and wife now. Yu Qianxian turned around, seeing her bashful expression. His guilt deepened. He took a deep breath and said with firm resolve, I will take responsibility for you. I will make this right. Xing Shuhui nodded shyly and then asked, Brother Xian, how much longer are we staying in Shenzhen? I'll go buy the tickets. Let's leave tomorrow. Yu Qianxian paused and thought for a moment. I'll go buy the tickets. Let's leave tomorrow. There was no longer any reason for him to stay here. So, should we go see your sister again? Yu Qianxian gave a bitter smile. Better not. Let's not bother her. Just yesterday, he was still thinking about mending things with Xing Shui, but now, he didn't even have the courage to face her again. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about the whole situation, but looking at the innocent Xing Shuhui, he suppressed his suspicions. Out of Yu Qinshuan's sight, Xing Shuhui curled her lip in disdain. Even now, he's still putting on this act of being devoted. Meanwhile, on the other side, Xing Shui was completely unaware of what was happening. She was busy preparing for the interview. Somehow, the principal had heard about her situation and went out of his way to secure her a part-time position as an English translator at a newspaper. The job not only offered excellent pay but also allowed her to put her skills into practice. Xing Shui clutched the letter of recommendation tightly, her heart filled with immense joy. Still, the thought of the interview made her a little nervous. On the day of the interview, Xing Shui wore the long dress Gu Jingchuan had given her for her birthday. The dress was a pale green, tailored to fit her perfectly, accentuating her slender figure and elegant demeanor. She turned in front of the mirror, a smile unconsciously curling at the corner of her lips. You look beautiful, Gu Jingchuan said with genuine admiration. A faint blush colored Xing Shui's cheeks. Thank you, Jingchuan. Don't mention it. You deserve it, Gu Jingchuan replied with a gentle smile. Come on. I'll walk you there, all the way, Gu Jingchuan kept encouraging her, helping to ease her nerves. It's all right, Shui. Just do your best. Xing Shui took a deep breath and nodded. Gu Jingchuan's company and encouragement gradually calmed her flustered heart. Upon arriving at the newspaper office, Xing Shui steeled herself and went in for the interview. The interviewer's questions were highly professional and quite challenging, but she answered each one fluently and without hesitation. She demonstrated a solid command of her field and exceptional fluency in spoken expression. After the interview, the lead examiner smiled and said to her, Comrade Xing, your performance was outstanding, and we are very pleased. Congratulations, you've been accepted. A wave of relief washed over Xing Shui, and a brilliant smile spread across her face. Thank you. Xing Shui genuinely loved English, even in her past life. Without attending university, she never stopped learning it. Stepping out of the newspaper office, Xing Shui spotted Gu Jingchuan waiting at the entrance immediately. She hurried over to him and said excitedly, I got the job. Gu Jingchuan smiled as well, his eyes full of pride. I knew you could do it, Xing Shui said sincerely. Thank you, Jingchuan. I don't know what I would have done without you. Silly, what are you talking about? Gu Jingchuan ruffled her hair. We're friends. Helping each other is what we do. Come on. Let me take you out for a meal. Xing Shui felt a wave of warmth in her heart as she looked into his gentle eyes. The clay pot of hot soup bubbled away, its warmth driving the chill from his body. Starved for hours, Xing Shui buried his head in his meal, completely abandoning any pretense of decorum. Slow down. No one's going to take it from you. Halfway through his meal, he suddenly felt a tickle on the tip of his nose. Looking up, she saw Gu Yichen smiling at Xing Shui, holding a single grain of rice between his fingers. Is your face hungry too? He teased. Xing Shui flushed crimson and flusteredly lowered her head. She knew his feelings for her went beyond friendship. His gaze made that perfectly clear. For now, all Xing Shui wants is to focus on her work and live a good life. Everything else can wait. Winter break arrived, and Mother Yu's phone calls came one after another, urging Xing Shui to come home for the new year. After all, they raised her, and Xing Shui couldn't be too heartless. After much deliberation, Xing Shui bought a ticket and returned to Shancher, laden with gifts. The moment she stepped through the Yu family's gate, she was met with a shrill stream of curses. Yu Qianxian, what is the meaning of this? Let me make this clear. I'm carrying your child. I didn't come here to be treated like this. Xing Shui froze in shock as he saw Xu Hui, heavily pregnant, screaming at Yu Qianxian. Yu Qinshuan's face turned ashen, but he didn't dare talk back, only trying to placate her meekly. Xu Hui, calm down. The doctor said you shouldn't get too worked up in your condition. It's not good for the baby. I want that coat, and I want you to go buy it right now. Xu Hui, I'll buy it for you next time, okay? I've already used up this month's allowance. Yu Chenxian carefully helped Xu Hui sit down. No money, that's because you're useless. You're still just a captain after all this time. You're not saving your money for someone else, are you? Yu Chenxuan's face darkened. Xu Hui, don't talk nonsense. If we hadn't been paying back the money you borrowed before, would we be this hard up? And you're always wanting to buy this and that, after that night together. Xu Hui did tone it down for a while, putting on the act of a devoted wife and mother. She's no match for Shui when it comes to keeping house, but she gets by well enough. But ever since she got pregnant, her true colors have shown. She's become lazy, gluttonous, and spends money like water. You think I'm not good enough? You're still hung up on Shui, aren't you? Don't think I don't know it was you who talked Mom into inviting her over for dinner. I don't mean anything to you, it's her you care about, Xu Hui cried out, pounding her fists against Yu Chenxuan's chest. Yu Chenxian looked thoroughly exasperated. I told you, it's not true, stop making a scene. Shui stood in the doorway, watching the scene unfold before her, feeling nothing but absurdity and contempt. In their past life, with Shui standing in the way, their love was as inseparable as glue and lacquer. Now that they've been given their chance, they've somehow ended up a bitterly resentful couple. Seeing Shui at the door, Shui said in a snide, sarcastic tone, well, look who's back, someone's sweetheart. Yu Chenxian was overcome with an indescribable awkwardness. He didn't say another word, he just flung his hand down abruptly, turned on his heel, and strode out the door. Hearing the commotion, Mother Yu hurried out from the kitchen at a trot. Her gaze darted back and forth between her son's retreating figure and her daughter-in-law's face, finally settling on Shui. Shui, you're back. Don't take Xu Hui's words to heart. Ever since she got pregnant, she's had a harder time controlling her temper. She stepped forward, trying to take Shui's hand, but Shui gently pulled away. Shui's face held a faint weariness, and her voice was calm yet distant. Mom, I'm feeling a bit tired. I think I'll head back to my room to rest. Mother Yu's expression froze for a moment, but she didn't say anything more, merely nodding. She turned away and continued to placate Shui with a submissive, coaxing tone. She was a completely different person from the domineering mother-in-law Shui remembered. No matter how hard she tried, she could never win her mother-in-law's favor. Whenever she had a disagreement with Yu Chenxian, her mother-in-law was always the first to step in and blame her. Back in her room, Shui rummaged through her luggage and pulled out the New Year's gift Gu Jingchuan had given her, a red cashmere scarf. Shui wrapped the scarf around her neck and took a look in the mirror, a faint, involuntary smile curling at the corners of her mouth. In the past, to please Yu Chenxian and his mother, Shui rarely had any new clothes to wear. Her wardrobe consisted of either hastily bought items or hand-me-downs from Madame Yu. Now, she only wanted to please herself. The red scarf made her complexion appear even fairer and reminded her of Gu Jingchuan's gentle eyes. Happy New Year, Shui. Gu Jingchuan's voice still seemed to echo in her ears. Shui couldn't help but touch her scarf, the smile at the corner of her mouth deepening. Yu Chenxian smoked irritably, wreathed in swirling tendrils of smoke. How could he have ever found Shui's little tantrums endearing? Now it was clear, it was nothing but spoiled, unreasonable behavior born of being overly indulged. Just as I turned around, I saw Veterinarian Chen walking over with his medical kit, carrying half a bag of apples in his other hand. Well, if it isn't young Yu, what's the matter? You look so glum, like you're weighed down by debt. Veterinarian Chen let out a hearty laugh, his tone carrying a hint of teasing. Yu Chenxian forced a smile. Dr. Chen, what brings you here? Just got back from the countryside, dropping off some things for the family. Veterinarian Chen shook the cloth bag in his hand. By the way, Captain Yu, is your bae still able to raise pigs? About that thing your wife asked me for last time. He paused, lowering his voice. That aphrodisiac for breeding pigs, did it work? Yu Chenxian nearly dropped his cigarette. He was stunned, his mind reeling as a sense of foreboding washed over him. What, my wife? When did she come to you for it? Veterinarian Chen scratched his head. Early last October, she came rushing over, saying the pigs at the base weren't going into heat and she needed it urgently, so she just took it. Yu Chenxuan's mind flashed back to that night in the guest house, with Shui. A surge of rage shot through him. Shui. She actually dared to scheme against him. Upon returning home, Yu Chenxian stormed straight into the bedroom, where Shui was lying on the bed, eating nuts. Shui, Veterinarian Chen said you went to him for aphrodisiacs last October. Shui looked up, a flicker of panic flashing in her eyes before her expression settled back into calm composure. Aphrodisiac? What are you talking about? I have no idea what you mean. Yu Chenxian let out a bitter laugh, his anger at its peak. You have no idea. Did you use that drug on me? Xing Shuhui fell silent for a moment, then simply admitted it. That's right. So what? Yu Qinxian could scarcely believe his ears. You, how dare you? What right do you have to blame me? Xing Shuhui sat bolt upright, her voice dripping with resentment. If you weren't already engaged and still fawning over me all the time, would Xing Shui have dumped you? Would I have ended up having to marry you? So what if I schemed against you? All I wanted was for us to be a real couple. Yu Qinxian looked at the hysterical woman before him, feeling a wave of intense disgust well up inside. He had never imagined that the gentle, virtuous girl he thought he knew could be like this. He could bear it no longer. He raised his hand and slapped her hard across the face. Smack. Xing Shuhui covered her face, stunned. She never expected Yu Qinxian would dare to hit her. The next second, she screamed through her tears, snatched up the pillow beside her, and hurled it at Yu Qinxian. You hit me. How dare you hit me, you bastard, you heartless jerk. I'm going to tell everyone. She darted frantically around the room, grabbing anything within reach and smashing it to the floor. Just then, Mrs. Yu rushed in, her face etched with anxiety. The sight of the utter chaos on the floor left her utterly stunned. What happened here? Xing Shuhui threw herself into Mrs. Yu's arms, sobbing as she made her accusation. Mom, he hit me, he actually hit me. Mother Yu's face instantly darkened as she scolded sharply. Qinxian, how could you lay a hand on your wife? She's carrying your child. Have you no conscience? Yu Qinxian remained silent, watching the unfolding drama before him with a heart full of desolation. Xing Shuhui grew increasingly agitated, her face turning pale, clutching her stomach. She cried out in pain, my stomach, it hurts. Seeing this, Mrs. Yu panicked. She quickly steadied Xing Shuhui and shouted anxiously, Qinxian, hurry. Get her to the hospital. Only then did Yu Qinxian snap out of it. He scooped Xing Shuhui up in his arms and rushed out of the house. On the way, due to the pain and emotional distress, Xing Shuhui had already started to bleed. The hospital was in a state of utter chaos and commotion. After the emergency examination, the doctor breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully, the baby is safe, but you'll need to stay in the hospital for 3 days for observation. During this time, it's best to get plenty of bed rest and avoid strenuous activity or emotional stress. Outside the hospital room, Mrs. Yu sighed heavily. How did things end up like this? Right in the middle of the New Year celebrations. If you had married Shui, Yu Qinxian cut her off. Mom, stop. Please go back and get some dinner ready. Shui Hui will be waking up soon. He couldn't bear to hear a single word about Jing Shui anymore. Those 3 syllables were like a thorn lodged in his heart. A constant, dull ache. He sat on the cold bench in the hospital corridor and lit a cigarette. He regretted it, but what good was regret? He couldn't go back, and he couldn't change what had already happened. Xing Shui also got the news and rushed to the hospital. When Xing Shuhui woke up and saw Xing Shui, her eyes were full of venomous hatred. She spat out bitterly, look at the state I'm in. Are you happy now? Xing Shui sighed. She had genuinely believed they would be happy together. After all, in her previous life, she was already past 50. Yu Qinxian and his son got down on their knees, begging for a divorce, all so he could rekindle his romance with Xing Shuhui. I never wanted you to have a miserable life. Her tone carried a hint of resignation and bitterness. Xing Shuhui let out a cold, disdainful laugh. Who do you think you are? Do you really believe everything you've done is for my own good? She struggled to sit up, her tone sharp and biting. I was this close to becoming the battalion commander's wife. I could have had a Beijing household registration. It's all your fault I ended up married to that useless man. Yu Qinxian, I hate you. I despise you. In the hospital room, Xing Shui silently watched her younger sister. Xing Shuhui was still gnashing her teeth, relentlessly venting her resentment and accusations towards her. A wave of bitterness washed over Xing Shui. She sighed and said softly, take good care of yourself. Once you're out of the hospital, just go back to living your life as usual. Xing Shuhui snorted but didn't continue her tirade, simply turning her face away and ignoring her. Xing Shui gave a slight shake of his head and prepared to leave. He stopped her in the hospital corridor. Shui, I know I have no right to say anything, but I've missed you all this time. Xing Shui found the remark utterly hypocritical. Miss me? Yu Qinxian, do you even believe that yourself? You claim to miss me. Yet you got Shuhui pregnant. What do you take us sisters for? Yu Qinxuan's face flushed crimson, his eyes filled with panic and embarrassment. Shui, please let me explain. Xing Shui cut him off, her voice icy and resolute. There's nothing to explain. You and Shuhui even have a child together. What more is there to say? I wish you both a lifetime of happiness and love. Yu Qinxuan's hand fell limply. He was silent for a few seconds, as if lost in a memory. I've been dreaming a lot lately, in my dreams, it's always you I'm marrying. Xing Shui was taken aback for a moment, her brow furrowing deeply. Yu Qinxian continued, you were gentle and virtuous, you bore my children, and you worked yourself to the point of illness, but in my dreams, my eyes were only for Shu Hui. I neglected you, I hurt you, I was such a bastard, he even teamed up with our son to force you into a divorce. Faced with his anguished words, Xing Shui was unexpectedly struck by a mix of surprise and bitter amusement. She never imagined he could dream about those absurd events from their past life. I'm sorry for what I did to you back then, and I want to make it up to you. Yu Qinxian covered his face, his voice thick with agony and remorse. Xing Shui forced down the fury in her heart, her tone icy cold. If you truly want to make amends, then live a good life with Shu Hui, and don't come bothering me again, it's for the best. For both of us sisters, Yu Qinshuan's eyes dimmed, his tone laced with a hint of resentment and longing, but I've always felt that it should have been you as my wife. Xing Shui's patience finally snapped, her face turned cold. Yu Qinxian, that is not something you should say. Throughout this life and the last, he has always been wavering between two women, greedy to possess everything, yet unwilling to relinquish anything. Since things have come to this, there's no longer any reason to stay here. The Yu household was never truly her home to begin with. Early the next morning, Xing Shui packed her luggage and knocked on Madame Yu's door. Xing Shui pressed a bank card into her hand and said calmly, Auntie, thank you for taking care of me all these years. This card has the money I've saved up. Please take it as a small token of my gratitude for everything you've done for me, Mrs. Yu was taken aback and tried to push it away. Shui, I couldn't possibly accept this. Here, take it. Carrying his luggage, Xing Shui said flatly, I have things to take care of at school, I should get going. With that, Xing Shui left the Yu residence without so much as a backward glance. Showing not a trace of reluctance, a long line snaked from the ticket window. When it was finally Xing Shui's turn, he was told there were no tickets left for Shenzhen. I checked, and the earliest available ticket isn't until the day after tomorrow. Xing Shui ran a hand through her hair in frustration. Where could she go now? She couldn't just sleep on the street. Just as Xing Shui was at her wit's end, Gu Jingchuan appeared before her, laden with bags. Shui. A surprised smile spread across his face as he hurried over. Xing Shui was also a bit taken aback and greeted him with a smile. What a coincidence. Are you from Shancher too? Yeah, what's going on with you? Xing Shui briefly explained that she couldn't get a ticket back to Shenzhen. Gu Jingchuan's voice was full of concern. Well, how about you come to my place for the new year? Xing Shui was taken aback for a moment and quickly waved her hands. Oh, I couldn't possibly impose. Oh. Don't be shy, he said with a smile. It's just me and my grandma at home, so it's a bit quiet. Having you over would liven things up. Besides, with it being the new year and all, I'd worry about you being all on your own. He paused, then added, please, Shui, just keep my poor grandmother company. She gets so lonely at home all by herself. His pitiful expression made Xing Shui burst out laughing. Unable to refuse such earnest entreaty, Xing Shui finally agreed. A gust of cold wind hit them as they stepped out of the station, and Xing Shui instinctively pulled her coat tighter around herself. Seeing this, Gu Jingchuan immediately took off his own overcoat and draped it over Xing Shui's shoulders. A faint, woody scent wafted around her. You should bundle up. Shancher is much colder than Shinsher. Gu Jingchuan's home was in the old quarter of S City, a quaint two-story house. As soon as they entered the courtyard, the savory aroma of dumplings wafted over. An elderly woman with a head of silver hair stood at the kitchen door, smiling warmly at the pair. Chuanzi, you're back, and this is. The old lady's gaze settled on Xing Shui, and she said happily, my goodness, you brought a real beauty home for me this year. Xing Shui lowered her head a little shyly, her cheeks flushing slightly. Grandma, this is Xing Shui, my friend. Gu Jingchuan introduced with a smile. All right. Come on in and warm up. Grandma Gu was busy boiling dumplings, while Gu Jingchuan helped Xing Shui carry her suitcase to the guest room. The guest room wasn't large, but it was clean and tidy, and the bedding on the bed smelled of sunshine. Gu Jingchuan set down the suitcase and said gently, you rest for a bit, the dumplings will be ready soon. Xing Shui nodded and sat down on the edge of the bed, watching the snowflakes drift past the window. She felt a profound sense of peace and tranquility she had never known before. Perhaps, she thought, this is what home feels like. That evening, they all gathered around the dining table, sharing a meal of steaming hot dumplings. Granny Gu kept putting food on Xing Shui's plate. Shui, dear, you must come visit often. You're always welcome at Granny's. Xing Shui nodded with a smile, her heart feeling warm. After the meal, Gu Jingchuan suggested taking Xing Shui for a walk in the nearby park. The park was quiet in winter, with only a few couples nestled together, savoring the rare tranquility. Jing Shui and the others walked slowly along the lakeside, no one speaking. Snowflakes drifted down gently, settling on them like a thin, gauzy veil. Thank you, Jingchuan, Jing Shui said softly, breaking the silence. What are you thanking me for? Thank you for letting me stay with you for the new year. Gu Jingchuan looked at Jing Shui and teased with a smile. How about repaying me by marrying me? Jing Shui was taken aback for a moment, then let out a deliberately haughty huff. In your dreams, her words said one thing, but a ripple of emotion stirred within her. So, how are you going to repay me? I am, after all, the hero who rescued you from the dire straits of the train station. Jing Shui was amused by his exaggerated tone and said with feigned seriousness, a hero? It looks to me more like you're trying to take advantage of the situation. He pretended to ponder for a moment, then said with mock seriousness, let me think. How about you cook me one meal a day until school starts? Jing Shui couldn't help but roll her eyes. In your dreams, my cooking is pretty average, you know. He looked at Jing Shui with a smile. That's fine, I'm not picky. Besides, even if your cooking is terrible, I'd still eat every last bite. Jing Shui couldn't help but laugh at his shameless antics. Is that your idea of showing gratitude? You're clearly just trying to take advantage of me. Sigh. I guess I'm just not charming enough. He let out a deliberately dejected sigh, then suddenly leaned in close to Jing Shui. Well then, should I try a little harder? Jing Shui felt her cheeks grow warm and hastily took a step back. You better not try anything. He couldn't help but laugh at the flustered look on Jing Shui's face. Just kidding. He reached out and gently ruffled Jing Shui's hair. Let's go. Time to head back, or Grandma will start to worry. Back at the Gu residence, Granny Gu had already prepared a steaming bowl of ginger tea, saying it would ward off the chill and warm the body. Jing Shui held the bowl of ginger tea, soaking in the warm and cozy atmosphere of the Gu family home, for the first time. A flicker of hope for the future stirred in her heart. Perhaps letting go of the past and starting anew wasn't such a bad thing after all. On New Year's Eve, brilliant fireworks lit up the entire night sky outside the window. The deafening sound of firecrackers rose and fell in waves. Standing by the window, Jing Shui felt a strange sense of detachment, as if a lifetime had passed in a daze. Happy New Year, Jing Shui. He leaned in close, his warm breath brushing against Jing Shui's ear, sending a faint, ticklish sensation through her. Jing Shui turned her head, meeting his deep, penetrating gaze. In that moment, time seemed to stand still, and her heart skipped a beat. Happy New Year, Jingchuan. He leaned close to Jing Shui's ear and whispered, I like you, Shui. I've liked you since we shared a desk in elementary school. Outside the window, fireworks continued to bloom in the sky, their brilliant colors illuminating both Jing Shui's face and Gu Jingchuan's.